Everybody, welcome to the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. I'm Dougie Almeida, coming from Danger Studios in South Florida, and I'm joined today by two very funny men, Mr. Jimmy Shubert and Paul Ogata. What's up, fellas?
Hey, Dougie, how are you?
Good to see you, my new Florida neighbor. And Paul,
Hey,
you
what's
and I
up,
haven't
buddy?
seen each other for probably a couple of years, right?
Yeah, I'm very envious. You guys, you live where all the work is right now. So,
You want a spot? You want to come get a spot?
yeah, could I? I'll fly out for 5.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to do. I just wanted to work and keep, keep working. I mean, shoot, that's why I got out. I wanted to go do a little bit of work. I couldn't do anything. This summer was brutal on me. I mean, when you just locked down, can't do anything. I wanted to I said, all right, sayonara.
Yeah, so he's been here now. He's a Floridian, and you're sticking around in Cali, right?
Well, yeah, I've got commitments here for another year or so, and then I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Canada. Who knows? Somewhere where there's less COVID.
Yeah. Well, that we're going to share a topic today with happening in Canada. They're actually going into people's houses and busting them for having more than 6 people. So
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that video. That was pretty hardcore.
yeah. So
And really, really not very un-Canadian like, I mean, but you think you live in a free society, but and then they show up at your door and rip your son-in-law out and put him in handcuffs. I mean, this is kind of I think it's ridiculous, to tell you the truth. I just think, there's, I mean,
Well,
you saw those.
Canada's
Go
been
ahead.
moving in that direction for quite a while. They've had the human rights tribunals where the comedian said something on stage that upset someone in the audience. And so they hauled this comedian off to this human rights court and fined him $50,000. I can't remember the name or the exact amount, but
You're
it's
right.
like
I
that.
do remember that story. You're right.
Yeah.
They're headed that way. Huh? I mean, I guess we're headed that way too. I mean, as it goes, you're going to be in bed be in your house at 10 o'clock. They in New York City, they have a 10 p.m. curfew, and after 10 p.m., all the homeless people come out and all the criminals come out. You don't want to be on the street in New York City after 10. You're
Yeah,
asking
it's
for
the
trouble.
purge. Yeah, COVID's waiting at 9:59. Like, put me in, coach. Put me in.
Yeah. Well, I'm worried about you guys. I might have to send Snake Plissken in to get you out.
escaping from LA.
Escape from Murrieta. It's starring Snake Plissken, the sequel. We got to fly in. You got to get Paul Ogata out.
Who would you hire? Who would you hire, Jimmy, for that role now? Because obviously, what's his name's too old.
I hired Kurt Russell, bro. It's Kurt Russell's part, bro. He'd just be a little older, but he'd still be Snake Plissken, bro. One Snake Plissken, always Snake Plissken. Who are you going to put in? Some douchebag with a freaking a man bun?
Yeah, but Kurt Russell's old. Like, the one good eye has a monocle now. His Snake Plissken is he's got a walker.
He's getting ready to play the Bud Freeman story. That's why the monocle. Okay, I don't know.
I thought we had some news there. Yeah, well, that it's amazing. You watch the video, families getting involved, and somebody called the police. Somebody said, "Hey, there's some family A that are, like, have too many people 12 people and then they come to the house and they said, "You're going to break this up?" And they said, "No, we're not going to break this up. It's New Year's Eve. None of us have COVID. You know what I mean? We feel okay." But the rule, I guess, in Canada is their isolation and lockdown means somebody from one house cannot go to another house. That's it. That's simple.
Just when you think you live in a free society. When it starts, it's going to be you got to take the vaccination. It'll pretty soon be you have to have the vaccination to travel.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a joke, really. You think you live in a free society. You don't. That's probably the biggest wake-up call for everybody. They can tell you that your work is not is non-essential. You can't gather. You can't entertain people anymore. I mean, close-up magicians and street performers and ventriloquists and comedians and singers and songwriters can't perform anymore.
Now, you seem like, by some of your facial expressions there, Paul, you seem like you may have a little bit of a varied opinion on some of that. I mean,
well, listen, we got rules to follow, and we don't follow them anyway. And so they come up with stupider rules for us to follow, which of course we don't follow. And that's why we're in the situation we're in. You got New Zealand is COVID free because they told people stay your ass at home, and people stayed their ass at home, and now they don't have COVID. It's one of those things where we have this idea of American exceptionalism, and that God was like, hey, I'm going to create America and you guys have all these freedoms. But that's fine if you want to believe that.
No, God didn't do that. That's in the Constitution. You do have freedoms. And furthermore, all these leaders that are, and I use the term loosely, all these so-called leaders tell you to stay at home, but then they go to restaurants with all of their people. They tell you to stay at home, and you can't do this. And then they're over in Caracas partying, in another country. I mean, if the rules are the same for me and you, Paul, then they should be the same for the people at the upper echelons of society. These people that are products of superior genetic breeding that don't just give us the directive to stay at home and you must do certain things and I say it. And I got to tell you, some of the stuff is quite tyrannical. I mean, there's this woman in Michigan. I mean, you're ruining people's lives and frickin' businesses that they've worked for 30 years for.
Yeah.
People are leaving California in fucking droves. I mean, I get it. You're right. No, God didn't ordain this. The U.S. Constitution gave us certain inalienable rights.
Well, Paul brought up New Zealand. Now, New Zealand is a bit different than this country. It's not like it's very porous. Imagine, right? It's not like there's, you know what I mean? And not to mention, we also have the freedom to be a bunch of fat fucks, shape people in this country, because we're not that healthy of a country either, right? So in New Zealand, they're all running around with their kiwi and, you know what I mean, and playing rugby. So they're all in good shape when we're a bunch of fat fucks on the couch, watching The Wall and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But listen, and that's the real criticism right now in California. They had the harshest lockdowns of most state, and they're doing the worst. So is it that the people in California are just a bunch of fucking, we're not listening to anybody? Or is there something?
It's totally that.
Yeah. I got into that. I was at the chiropractor office on Monday, and this lady was like, oh, old lady, she was talking about it. And I go, California's, I must have pissed her off because California's going down. I go, between everything, they got the hardest lockdowns, and but the problem is no one's listening. They're all going to these private parties, right? Everybody's getting together privately, all meeting at different houses. But virtue signing, I'm gonna wear a mask in my car when I'm by myself, but at night I'm gonna go hang out with 15 people. We're gonna go play Uno.
Yeah, playing a game of Uno is certainly worth risking your life for. You don't understand. I'm addicted to Uno. I have to play.
Yeah,
15 people playing a game of fucking Uno.
When's the last time?
I mean, just social distance. Social distance from people and wear your fucking mask. I mean, if masks work, I mean, they say they don't work, then why are we wearing them? They say if you social distance, that should work, and if you wear a mask, I mean, I don't fucking know anymore. I don't know what to believe. I don't. It's weird.
Well, California lost me when they took the outdoor dining off the menu. I'm like, I mean, come on.
I didn't leave California for any other reason than the explosion of homelessness because of the high rents and the drug addiction and all that. I mean, I had 15 people living underneath a bridge about 3 blocks from my house. And about a half mile down underneath another overpass was another 15, 20 people living underneath a bridge. It just wasn't. I mean, if you think this is okay, I mean, certainly we're going to send 18 million to Pakistan for gender studies. We shouldn't take care of the people living underneath our bridge. I mean, certainly we can give some of this foreign aid to some of these Americans that are suffering through this. I don't want my industry to go down because of it. And my industry happens to be relying on people gathering. But a lot of these comedy clubs are struggling, and they're not going to make it through another year and a half. A lot of these places are going to close.
Yeah.
And then when we finally do come out of this, there's absolutely going to be no place to work.
Is it really?
And I'd rather go down. I'd rather take my chances with the virus than take my chances with the fucking Gestapo.
Yeah. So, Paul, when you get
I give a amen and an A-woman to what I just said.
I was just going to say today with our morning prayers, amen and A-woman. Which gets us to the next topic. Thank you for the transition, Shuby. Is that just ignorance? I mean, here we are. By the way, did you see that?
Beyond ignorant. It's you're mentally fucking encumbered. It's not even what the fuck it means. It's an amen. He goes, and an a woman because I take my IQ with a fucking tire gauge. I mean, who would fucking, that is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. You know, I don't know, maybe it was Andrew Jackson who said if you don't get involved in politics, you're destined to be governed by people that are fucking dumber than you. And my God, is that more apparent? It's never been more apparent to me than right now.
Did you see that story, Paul, by the way?
I saw it. I didn't dive deep into it, but I read the headline. And was the guy serious? Come on. Was he trolling?
No, first of all, the question.
Yeah, it was first off, it was at the end of a prayer, and it was a pretty legitimate prayer. So I think, you know, he was being, I think he was absolutely being serious. You know, it's funny. You know, I got all kinds of friends across the spectrum and everything else. So I don't fucking judge anybody. Do what the fuck you want to do. You know, but I saw on eBay they were selling these LGBTQ rainbow shirts. And it says we have two sizes, men and women sizes. I just thought that was ironic, to say the least.
Well, they did pass something in the Congress that they're going to use they and all the, you know, the non gender type verbiage or terminology.
Yeah, father, son, mother, daughter, yeah. all those are going to be cut out. I have to tell you, man, we have a bigger fucking fish to fry than worrying about fucking pronouns. I grew up in a neighborhood where they referred to you as you and yous. You and yous. Those were your fucking pronouns. And you were either Italian, Irish, you know, whatever. And, you know, I mean, I got to be honest with you, bro. This to me is so ridiculous. I mean, we got bigger fish to fry here. We're in the middle of a pandemic, fighting for the species to survive.
Yeah.
And you're worried about what you're going to call, fuck, let's get rid of these words.
Well,
but it is the logical, if absurd, conclusion if you extrapolate the data of where society's been moving. It was just a matter of time before somebody said a woman and amen. I mean, it's to the point where you can't have male men anymore. They're gender people because, you know, male is a homophone for male, but you can't even say homophone because it starts with homo and people get upset.
I mean, obviously, if it's a woman delivering your mail, she's a male person. Or if it's a dude, I mean, you know, do you need to spell that? Do you think people are that fucking dumb that you need to spell it out? I mean, the people that do this think we're as dumb as they are. I can look at a person and go, yeah, that's a male woman. That's a male man. I can decide that on my own. I don't need you coming up with fucking new words for me to say.
Sometimes it is a little hard to tell, to be honest with you, if you've ever seen my male person. Is it
just because the people who are in charge in Washington have you're right, there's bigger fish to fry, Jimmy, but those are the tougher issues that we can't agree on. So they come up with these shiny objects on the side to distract us. Section 230. Who gives a shit? These are things that could be put off until way later, if at all ever, right? But now we're talking about these other things instead of COVID instead.
But I mean, they can't even decide to give people $600 or $2,000. I mean, to me, it's like, are you fucking people kidding me? You know, the people fucking need you now, and this is what you're fucking worried about? If it was ever a chance for these people to step up and be fucking real leaders, now would be a good time, besides worrying about that. You're right. Some of these things need to be addressed, and you can address them at that point. But for right now, I think, you worry. I got a lot of friends that own comedy clubs that I've known for many years that are really fucking struggling. And that's $600 should keep them for another 6 months. I mean, hey, remember this: when all these fucking people run for office, they reach out for donations, to help them win the election. I'll remember that fuckface. You voted for me to get 600, so you'll get. I'll defecate an envelope and send it to your campaign headquarters so you can, invest that into your running for office. I mean, come on. Listen, I get it. All this stuff needs to be addressing, but in the middle of a fucking pandemic,
Yeah.
really?
I think Paul has a good point there. It's like, well, we can't obviously fix all these other things, so let's act like we're we're rearranging the furniture on the Titanic, as they'd say.
Well, it's a smokescreen. You're right. It's a distraction, so you don't realize what fucking horrible peoples they are. And just like in show business, all these actors are these shallow, vacuous fucking vessels that run around and show business. I mean, politics is just like show business for ugly people. The modern political dogma is that they convince people they really care about you and they really are making laws to make your life better. I go, yeah, then pass the fucking $2,000, and then you're sending millions of dollars to Pakistan for fucking gender studies. I mean, really?
Yeah.
That was the bill you're passing, and it wasn't just Pakistan. It was all these other countries getting millions and millions of fucking dollars.
Paul has some friends in Pakistan that are taking advantage. Don't let's try to keep this. Like that's some friends.
I do though. You joke, but I do. Yeah, but there's a lot of frivolous stuff we spend money on when there's people starving in our own streets and problems unsolved here at home. But smarter people than me have figured out it's a puzzle, right? You got to take care of some things on this part of the pond so that on this side things are. I don't know how it's Jenga, dude. It's you got to make sure the tower doesn't topple over.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that the $20 or $18 million for gender studies in Pakistan is going to fix some stuff on this side of the pond? I mean, because I got to tell you, I mean, there are fucking people that are struggling in this country so hard right now on the verge of bankruptcy, and they spent their life building it, and it's just going to get their government is not helping them. In fact, their government is hindering them, and they're going to lose everything: their house,
100%, man. 100%. I'm with you on that. But then it's a bigger puzzle, right? If you don't address issues in another country that's in a perilous situation, like Pakistan, perhaps, and instead of going out and nation building with your army, maybe you slowly try to affect change in another country with things like this. As silly as this study might sound, I don't know, someone might have figured out that if you apply this funds in this manner in that country, that maybe you can affect change in another country without sending our soldiers and having a precious treasure and American blood spilled.
In a perfect world, I would agree with you. I think you're right. I think nation building is a great thing. But the problem is those millions of dollars are going to go over to Pakistan for gender studies. And then they're going to take some of that money and they're going to shift it off to this side and shift it off to this side and run it through a couple different companies. And the next thing you know, $50 million of that money is coming back and going in the pocket of this senator's brother who's doing this, or he gets $60 million for a book deal. I'm going $60 million for a book deal. That's a lot of fucking books. You know what I mean? What are you writing, the Bible? I'm just saying a lot of this stuff is just, it's not really for gender studies in Pakistan. It's just, you're going to ship it over there. It's going to come back. I mean, if you could tell me why John Kerry's over in Iraq, trying to get some of that fucking pallets of cash they dropped off over there, is because they want their cut. They want their cut. I mean, I believe you're right. In the perfect world, helping people, and we have enough money to fucking not only help our own citizens, but maybe some of these other countries. But good luck. I mean, there's so much fucking corruption that's not even going to see a fucking gender study.
But and it's got to wrap this subject up. I don't know if that's the case. Like, you have to take care of your own house first. Like, you can't be giving money out to charity when you don't have your mortgage paid. You can't be helping things out if your own structure is falling apart. So it does take it. We were looking at that when all the stuff happened with the immigration. People were like, oh, these kids. I'm like, yeah, there's 4.5 million. There's a 4.5 million homeless American children on the street right now. You know what I mean? So if somebody's, I'm not mad. I don't feel bad for the kids coming over from Mexico and Uruguay. Of course I do. I've been to those places and they're shitholes.
Well,
but I also feel bad for the kid that, like you said, is sitting under a bridge, in L.A., and his mom's shooting.
Well, that's what happens when you burn all the bridges in your life. You wind up living underneath the fucking bridge. Yeah, I guess Gavin Newsom's idea for, immigration is to make California so fucking bad, economy-wise, that people don't want to go there anymore. They start heading back to Mexico because they can make a better living in Mexico than they could in L.A. after it's fucking ruined. I mean, with all the homelessness and the fucking high rents in the apartments. I'm telling you, you'll watch in 6 months, as bad as Los Angeles is now, it's going to be 10 times worse.
So in other words, do you think now you lived in California, Jimmy, Paul? You still live there. Are you a Gavin Newsom fan? Are you a fan of the governor of North Carolina?
North Carolina? What?
What are you talking about? Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you got on the brain?
I'm moving to Carolina, so I'm thinking Carolina's on my mind.
California.
California. Are you a Gavin Newsom fan?
Well, and Shubert hit this on the head, when people in charge issue orders and then are publicly shown flaunting their own orders out at restaurants, fancy restaurants, it's not a good look, and it sets a bad example. So in that sense, I'm not a fan of him for doing that. But he's up against a lot of other problems too. I grew up in Hawaii, and our homeless problem is huge there, and here's why it is. Not through any specific fault of the people who run the state of Hawaii, but other states will put their homeless people on a plane. They'll give them a plane ticket, fly them to Hawaii, and they say, now our homeless problem is gone. So I don't know.
You're right.
I don't know how much of the
homeless
really
problem
happening
here. Is that really happening?
Yeah,
it's 100% happening.
No shit.
California did the same thing a couple of years ago. San Francisco said, and a lot of cities like Denver, Colorado, put their homeless. They put them a one-way ticket on a bus and shipped them right up to San Francisco. I mean, you're right. He's right. They did the same thing in San Francisco. They did the same thing in Hawaii. Homeless problem solved. They actually were talking about putting the homeless people on giant cruise ships and sending them out. And very much like a ship that would never reach a port, as long as, they would just kind of travel the 7 seas.
And they'd probably still win more money in the casino than I did.
A homeless cruise.
The homeless cruise to nowhere.
I mean, I'm telling you, bro, that was presented as a solution to the homeless. Put them on a cruise ship. And you just want a cruise for the rest of your life. I mean, come on. I mean, why don't you address some of the problems that cause this? Certainly a lot of them are veterans with PTSD and a lot of drug addicts. But I mean, what are you going to do? How do you fix it? I mean, there's much smarter people than me that can't fix the problem or even have a solution to it. Or maybe they don't want it fixed. Maybe they want it exactly the way it is. Because I'll tell you, if they wanted it fixed, they would do something about it, but they're not. So
it's almost one of those situations. Is it's such an enormous problem that can it even be fixed? I mean, we're in a situation. There's just so many people on this earth, all going after that same nut. Everybody's trying to scrape for the same resource, and all that. And that's basically what's happening to all these countries. Between China, the United States. The middle, everybody's fighting for those last bits of the golden nuggets that are out there. And so that's what's happening. Jimmy, you mentioned Hollywood and whether we want to hear their opinion. And one of our favorite actors, Mr. Alec Baldwin, who's been in and out of controversy, right? He's got a bit of a temper. He's gotten in trouble for attacking somebody who was messing with him and and then he got all messed up. Was he the guy eating a hamburger? I'm trying to remember. Or is that somebody else?
Hasselhoff.
That was Hasselhoff. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was David Hasselhoff.
He's all wasted. Oh, but he was having an argument with his daughter, Alec, right? Didn't he have an argument with his daughter? And okay.
Well, he's been clean and sober for many years now. So maybe that was the video that got him in the treatment. If it did, then good for him. I mean, here's the thing about that. The modern culture is that that you're not allowed to make a mistake in today's culture. I mean, you're not allowed to make a mistake. And people like Hillaria or whatever she called herself in Spain, Hillaria, which is hilarious. It's that, people, like, everything you do now is under a microscope. You have zero privacy. At least at some point in America, there was a reasonable expectation of privacy. But, it's just, to me, it's like a guy like Louis C.K. I mean, the guy can never make a living as long as he lives because he had 2 women up to his hotel room and masturbated in front of him. But those women went as grown women and sat there while he did it. I mean, no one held a gun to his fucking head. I mean, a guy does 2 sold-out shows at the Beacon. He's supposed to go home and jerk off by himself. I mean, what's the point of selling out 2 shows at the Beacon if you can't go home and, have a small internet gathering? Anyway, the point is, before I get canceled, I just think all this stuff is, people are allowed to fuck up. It's part of being a human being. People make fucking mistakes. So Are they never allowed to fucking work again? I mean, it's ridiculous. And all someone has to do is make an allegation with zero fucking police report or zero facts, and you get to ruin someone's fucking life. And and the problem with that is, they're coming for her now, but then they'll come from anybody. They don't give a fuck who you are.
Yeah, Paul, you don't seem like the kind of guy who's worried about stuff you've done. You seem pretty clean cut, right?
Nah, man, my closet is full. It's but you're right. You're not allowed to screw up. But I feel like it's very selective in what the mob goes after. So now people are jumping all over Hillaria because she wanted to be Spanish. And so who does that hurt at all, if anybody? Everybody else is allowed to call themselves what they want. Jeb Bush, for example. Jeb Bush is not even his name. Jeb is not his given name. Do you know what his name is? It's James Ellis Bush. That's right. His name is an acronym for James Ellis. He's calling himself James Ellis Bush Bush, okay? And no one cares about this. People, you have grown men named Scooter. No one cares. No one comes after them. Like, hey, you weren't, show me your birth certificate. You're not Scooter. No one cares. It's just Hillaria, Hillary. It doesn't matter, all right? Let her call herself what she wants.
Yeah, I mean, women are identifying as men and men are identifying as women. If she wants to identify as Spanish, what's the fucking harm? What difference does it make? Or this actor's gay or she's a lesbian? Who gives a fuck? You don't have anything better to do in your fucking life than, people make mistakes. People are allowed to make mistakes. They don't get to, people are being fired over a fucking tweet. How did you know what that person meant? You're interpreting all this shit. I mean, saying someone's a racist or this person is this off a fucking tweet. I mean, it's insane. It really is.
Yeah. It does kind of hurt. It is similar to isn't it kind of similar to Carlos Mencia, who was claiming he was from Mexico when he's really from Nicaragua or something like that, where she claims that she's from Spain when she isn't. Now, the only person it would hurt, Paul, would be her, right? I mean, when you think about it, her integrity, all right, what else am I not going to believe from her at this point? You know what I mean?
Elizabeth Warren said she was a fucking Indian. Turns out she's not even a fucking Indian. She got bit by a mosquito and it sucked all her Indian blood out of her. I mean, there's people can, whatever. The one girl, Rachel Dolza, was saying she was an African American woman. I mean, someone does a dance, it's cultural appropriation or whatever. I mean, are these the biggest fucking problems you got in your life? I feel fucking sorry for you if you're sitting around getting pissed over a fucking chicken sandwich. I mean, my God, I would love to have that fucking luxury.
That would be.
Right. And people were upset because Hillaria put on a Spanish sounding accent. And again, who does that hurt? Madonna flew over London for 30 minutes and came back suddenly speaking like she's lived in the palace for a year.
Nah, lovely, super sorted and all that, man.
Hey, you like my
but I got to be honest, though, and you notice as you travel, I went to Ireland, hung out there for a couple of weeks, and I was walking around going, let's go get a belly full of gargle. Couple pints of the brown stuff. Hey, you pick up the accent.
I do have to
start doing.
I do have to admit that because my family is from Gibraltar, which is in Spain, but it's British. So when my cousins would come and I'd spend time with them, I'd bet you get that little accent because you're around them a lot. Like look at Johnny Depp, and that kind of stuff. But absolutely, it's funny you mentioned about names. My wife, being Asian, her real name is Kun, right? But when I first met her, her American name was Tracy. So all right, that's her American name, and then
appropriation, Dougie.
I know. I got her morphing into the American culture. So then she decided to change it. She's like, I don't want. She changed it about 5-8 years after going 9 years. She changed it to Kaylin because it sounds a little more like her. It was. People ask me why that happened. I'm like, look, man, I just married the woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm a woman, and I'm just glad they still call it menstrual cycle. Should they start calling it the woman's stroke? I don't know. Not great.
Well, my dad used to say to me, he used to say, listen, stupid. He always called me listen. He would say, no, I'm kidding. He wasn't much of a talker. Go ahead. Where were you going with this, Dougie? Sorry, I was just trying to squeeze in a joke before
Thank you very much.
Change the entire world over a podcast.
Yeah.
Whenever anyone asks me to do a podcast, I always hear, hey, you want to get canceled for something you said that would be misinterpreted? That's what I always hear when someone asks me to do a podcast.
Yeah, you never know. You got to be careful, especially on the live ones. Well, one other little quick story on our topics I want to go over is there's a Harvard professor that says aliens visited back in 2017. I don't know if you guys remember that interstellar object that looked like a big cigar that was fly. It actually came from out of it went in a different orbit. It wasn't working based on the sun, so it came from another galaxy. But the Harvard professor says that's probably some space junk from some aliens, and they'll be back. Are you guys worried?
I got news for you. They've been coming here a lot longer than 2017. They've been coming here and interfering with our advancement for thousands of years. And if you don't think so, oh, absolutely, bro. There's hieroglyphics on the walls in Egypt and depicting clearly a spacecraft.
What? I was ready to laugh.
No, they are depicted in astronaut type clothing, carrying breathable units or something. I mean, the people have seen aliens before on this planet.
They just had a big.
I don't think they're coming here to study us. I think they use it more like some kind of intergalactic rest area when they have to just stop and shit out their three assholes, and then they get back in the spacecraft and get the fuck out of here because they ain't coming here to. I'm just being facetious, but that they have been interfering with. They're already among us. I mean, if you don't think that they are, I mean, even this technology we're using now was reverse engineered that spacecraft that crashed in Roswell in 1947. There's a book written by Lieutenant Colonel Rick Corso. I think it's Rick Corso, or
that's a comic in Hallandale, Florida.
No. It was a Lieutenant Colonel.
No,
it's called The Day After Roswell. And this guy talks about all this shit in the book. He called it the nut file because if he told anybody, they would think he's nuts. But they actually absolutely used it to develop night vision technology, the microprocessors on the inside of your phone that push thousands of pieces of information onto that screen are also off that. They reverse engineered all this shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're telling me the same people invented the fucking cell phone, use it to take pictures of her genitals and send it to each other. That's what you're telling me? That same group of people?
Yeah, that's why we got to thank the aliens for dick pics. They did say that the old Canadian Minister of Defense came out and said that Americans they're in a base in Arizona. There's the tall whites, there's the grays, and there's the lizards, the lizard type ones and stuff. But imagine, speaking of Hawaii, there was a big sighting just a few days ago, last week, off the Hawaii. There's like a big strut, and it went into the water. Maybe the aliens was getting some of the homeless people and taking them away.
No, listen, UFO enthusiasts checked out the video footage of this thing, and they said, you know what it is? It's an LED kite. That's match the shape and colors of an LED kite. Listen, and you know where that happened? In Nanakuli. That's on the island I grew up in. Let me tell you a little bit about Nanakuli. When you get off the H1 freeway in Hawaii, the very first traffic light is where transgender Samoan prostitutes work. Okay, so nothing appears to be in Nanakuli, Hawaii.
What a quarter is that, dude? Hold on, what's that?
Yeah. What are the GPS coordinates?
I'd imagine most of the time, especially over Mexico, the one that's a really weird turns out it was a bunch of balloons, that are all tied together. It's like it's amorphic. It keeps changing shape. Yeah, because it's a cluster of like 20 balloons, you idiot.
I will say this though, I do love that the Hawaiians got to name that space thing that you were talking about, Oumuamua, which in Hawaiian means the first messenger to arrive from afar. It seems like everyone else has better words, more descriptive words for things that happen in the world. Like in Germany, Schadenfreude is a term that the enjoyment you derive from seeing someone you don't like suffer. That's such a great word. In Japan, there's a term called Shinrin-yoku, which is it refers to when you walk into a forest and you get immediately enveloped by all the green light of the trees. It literally translates to forest bath. And it's how amazing are these words?
Those are great.
No, they're great. Schadenfreude. I love Schadenfreude because you see it all the time in American culture now. It's like Tiger Woods was a great example of, somebody just ripping him down and ripping him off his pedestal and ripping and degrading him. I mean, you do stuff. People forget there are human beings at the end of the day. And, it's like these Yelp reviews. I mean, how bad is that going to get, we're going to start yelping at each other. Dougie has a lazy eye and a club foot and really bad halitosis. Fuck Dougie. I give him 2 stars as a person. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is It's like really. I mean, we're not even being human beings. We went from like being this decadent society to this barbarian society without even touching fucking civilization. It's fucking it's and they use the things like Instagram and Twitter and fucking Facebook. They're all fucking internet ghettos designed to eradicate original thought and idea. They just want you to be on the group think. We're just getting played by everybody on every angle. And we really are.
If I keep listening to Shuby, I'm going to hang myself. I'm so depressed.
I'm the narrator of bad luck this evening. I'll be playing the part of the narrator of bad luck. No, it's just, dude, it is. I mean, come on, dude. If you don't, all the news media are owned by like 5 conglomerates. Like they all have an agenda one way or another. It's just fucking hate and division, and you should be scared stiff, and it's all. I mean, I don't even watch the news anymore.
I think what you're trying, Paul. Would you agree, as Jimmy's saying, is that we are no longer in control. We are just merely being puppeted and Pied Pipered around at this point.
Yeah, we are, but that's always been the goal of the people in charge. It's just easier for them to do it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, most people just walk around staring at their screens all day. You think they make some eye contact and have a conversation with a person, or maybe do something nice for somebody, like help an old lady across the street, or help somebody with their packages, or just be kinder to one another, as opposed to just jumping online and destroying somebody you've never fucking met because you're so miserable as a human being. You can't wait to project all that miserableness onto another fucking human being when you live in your parents' basement and watch fucking Pornhub and eat Doritos and beat off to your dick's orange and fucking drink energy drinks and play PlayStation 24 hours a day. By all means, you fucking reach out and judge me.
Yeah. I never do it till it's that hue of orange. It's
Thank you. Yeah, but
But you bring up a good point, Jimmy, because they recently found out that the Earth has been spinning faster, and I think it's directly correlated to what you just talked about. It's the physics that is involved in it is the conservation of angular momentum, and like it's when a figure skater is spinning with their arms out, and then they slowly bring their arms in and they spin faster and faster. That's what's happening to the planet, because used to be people walked upright and the planet was spinning slower, but now people are hunched over and looking at their phones, and now the planet's spinning faster and faster. So get off your phones before we go spiraling out of our orbit and dying a fiery death in the sun.
The thumbs are going to split into 2 so you can hold cap locks when you text. You're going to have like 2 thumb ends so you can text better and more efficiently. We're going to evolve, and but this is like, what is this? Eventually, we're going to merge. Our bodies are going to merge with all this technology. There's a great documentary out by Ray Kurzweil, and he's the guy who invented the fax machine and the organ, and he believes at one point that we will merge with all this technology.
I can't wait till you go to the hospital and they're like, he's not feeling well. Did you try turning him off and then back on? It's going to be a weird time.
Did you reboot him? I need to get rebooted, everybody. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because that is one of our stories today on our subject. The news is a joke. That's right. This is where we, the comedians. That's right. Time for News is a Joke, where we, the comedians, review stories and make fun of it. That's what we do. By the way, has anybody seen Jack Ma? Jack Ma? Jack Ma once changed his name. Once they rolled out the Alibaba IPO, he made so much money, he changed his name from Jack Ma to Jackpot. And we all know that guy's rich, but he's missing. They say he's in the Alibaba headquarters, but no one's seen him yet.
Has anyone tried calling him there? Charlie Laborte was a very funny comedian, and he had a joke about he used to call his friend Jack, who worked at a Chinese restaurant, on the days he wasn't working, just to hear the ladies like, "No, jack off today." He's like, "Well, what time is he coming in?" "No, jack off all day." Anyway,
that's funny. There's a place in Los Angeles called Awazir, and they go, "Awazir," and I go, and then he left. Like, Awazir chicken, Awazir. I go, and then he left, and I would go in there sometimes and order. Hope they didn't recognize my voice because I used to torture them. That's how bored I was.
An old Benny Hill joke. It was a sign, Illinois Tool Works. So does mine. But nobody knows where he is. But we hope we find him. We don't know if the Chinese government shut him up or not because he was making too much money. And he badmouthed the Chinese government. And we're seeing some changes in that, by the way.
Yeah, and they yanked him off his reality show because he badmouthed the Chinese government. So if there's a way we can get Kris Jenner or Blake Shelton to badmouth the Chinese government, please, and get them yanked off their shows.
Well, it sure as hell won't be anybody from the NBA.
Hey,
that's one. You just mentioned this story. The Earth is spinning faster now than any other time in the past half century. Because there was actually, it feels like that. My wife's been saying, doesn't it feel like the day's going by so much quicker? I'm like, it's funny you should mention that. But it is. And I don't know if it's because we all have our heads down or up our ass, but there's a lot of difference in the Earth spinning. A lot of people, the big fear, everybody's worried about the COVID and this and that. Well, why don't you worry about sun flares, meteorites? We had.
Well, you know what? I think I really do think that there's a disconnect. We become less human. I mean, you're interacting with machines all day. You get desensitized to, there are other human beings on this planet that may need some help, that may need conversation. People with mental health issues have not done well during this lockdown. It's affected them probably more than a lot of people. The number of suicides are up. I go, what kind of, they always say, the society, you can judge a society by how they treat the most least fortunate members of a society. And, unfortunately, all this stuff, the social media, all of it's it's just, dude, I go on walks on the beach and I leave my fucking phone at home and I don't have to document it for social media. I just go out and do 2.5 miles walking on the water's edge. I go and do fucking an hour and a half of yoga, Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, hot yoga. I'm in the process of reconnecting with myself and my feelings and emotions. And really, I think people should fucking do more of that. You should read more books. You should, interact with people more than not. I mean, we need that. The only reason we became so great as a species was because we were able to make eye contact and discuss ideas and concepts and help one another and help each other figure stuff out. We need that as a society. And that's why people are fucking hurting now, is because you're not even allowed to gather. You can't discuss anything anymore. You got to put a fucking mask on your face. It is absolutely fucking 1984, George Orwell's book, and we're living in it.
Paul?
Listen, I do think it's important that you get out and walk on the beach, because studies have shown those pictures get more likes on Instagram.
Yay!
I grew up on the islands. There's a healing element to walking. You got to put your bare feet on the earth. You got to put your bare feet in the sand, in the water, and it's healing.
Yes.
And not enough people do that. There's a function on Facebook where you can tell everybody, I'm marked safe from this tragedy. But there's no function where you can ask people, hey, are you doing okay? It's just people broadcasting about themselves. And that's not what we're about as a social species.
Yeah, it's a giant virtue signaling fucking pat yourself on the back fucking kind of society we live in. I mean, some lady will take a picture of the new Mercedes her husband bought her for Christmas, but she won't turn the camera around and take a picture of the black eye he gave her, which is why he had to buy the Mercedes, so she didn't divorce his fucking dumbass. It's all this thing, and I think we're getting away from being human fucking beings. And,
he gave her a car
the more
and
you
a black
connect
guy?
with people. What's that?
He gave her a car and a black guy?
Oh, a black eye. Black eye.
Black
eye. Domestic violence. Not that there's anything funny about that. I was just saying, it's very one-sided what you see. You know what I mean? How about this? How about I go the other way? How about I go? You should get a picture of the Mercedes-Benz in the driveway, and you don't see a picture of her holding an ice pack against her leather Cheerio because he gutted it like a housing and urban development project, which is why she got the new Mercedes-Benz. Okay, is that a better example for you? I'll be canceled by 9:30 this evening if I keep doing.
As long as he's making amends. I mean, if you mess up, he's
making amends and he's making a woman's. Cut. All right. Sorry. Now we're cooking with gas.
Oh, we could definitely move to the next story now.
Wait, hold on. I gotta lock up leathercheerios.com on GoDaddy. Hold on.
Yeah, go. I mean, the other thing is, he's not go on GoDaddy, leathercheerio.com, but I mean, like even fucking Pornhub. I mean, anybody can dial up some fucking Pornhub and watch some fucking horrible fucking pornography. Like, I mean, it's just like, Jesus, I can't even, I stopped watching porn. I don't want to become desensitized. It's fucking horrible. What happened to a guy coming over and just installing a cable and ba-ba-bam, ba-ba-bam, and, and now
Boy.
it's, the fucking Harlem Globetrotters show up at the front door and run a couple of, drills in your bedroom. I mean, it's unbelievable. Doesn't anybody just come over and install a cable anymore, Paul?
Well, what are you going to do when life gives you Metal Arc lemons? You got to
we gotta have gangbang porn. Speaking of that, I do love when you look around some of that stuff, some of this gangbang, the Asian videos, they really love the toys. It's like I don't know if they're all scared to pull out their dicks, but there's usually one girl, 6 guys, and they're all like, they have their vibrators like,
the bukkake videos.
Yeah,
but you watch Japanese porn, they put the anonymizer over the vagina.
Yeah.
Like, the vagina just turned state's evidence against the mafia, and they put the anonymizer over the girl's beaver. And even over the dude's schmeckle, which is, I appreciate them putting the anonymizer over the dude's pecker, but you don't got to put it over the vagina. Come on.
They obviously didn't.
Who we kidding? What kind of world we live in?
They obviously didn't steal that UFO technology to be able to just put the pixelation over the penis, but not the vagina. A miracle patient.
Brings me to my next subject.
A miracle patient with coronavirus woke up from a coma the day before the family was set to decide whether or not to take her off life support. Give her a DNR. I'm not dead yet.
Dude, you're thinking about that, huh? Dude, you hear about Tanya Roberts? Tanya Roberts says Tanya Roberts died, and they said, no, she didn't die. She's alive. And then the next day she dies. You don't find that to be fishy, bro?
A little coincidence.
You don't think there's something going on there?
Who reported she died? The beneficiary on the life insurance. Some people are, some people. We had a situation like that here in Florida. It was a Florida comedian, Grandma Lee, that was not well. Remember Grandma? She was not well, and I guess somebody in the family just basically posted that she was in hospice and she's, on her last. And then a fellow comic said, "Rest in peace," and all this stuff. And like, dude, she's not dead yet. She's just in hospice. I mean, that could be a few days. But can good lucky her, right? I mean, lucky her. I mean, here the family's ready. If you're not going to get respect, even the family's ready, digging 6 feet for you to throw you in the hole, and you're not dead yet. I mean, that happens. We've had stories where people are at the morgue. They're actually getting ready to put in the furnace, and they start kicking like, "Hey, hey, what am I doing in here?" There's just too many people, so we got to get rid of them. I guess that's one way to do it.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of what they're saying is with the, the vaccine will make you sterile. And I was gonna go get my fucking, I was gonna get my balls nipped anyway, but I could take care of 2 birds with 1 stone. I could get the vaccine and become sterile, so I don't got to worry about knocking anybody up.
Well, there you go. Now you're not going to take the vaccine, are you, Jimmy?
No, I'm gonna continue to get vitamin D and take my and do my CMOS and do my walks and do my yoga and take care of myself and exercise, extreme health care, and stay. I was socially distanced before it was cool to socially distance, and I'm not really that much of a draw anyway. So it's nice that now you can't really be a draw. So if you do 30, it's like a sellout, and I'm comfortable with that.
So you're saying during times of COVID, it's the comics who aren't that well followed that'll get much more work.
No, I'm just being an idiot. I'm just being an idiot.
Oh, that's all right with us. Would you take have you taken the vaccine, Paul, or will you take it?
In a heartbeat, I would take it. I would put 2 vaccines in me at the same time in each eyeball. I would take gladly, dude. I feel like I even had COVID already, and I didn't even know it because back in January.
I bet you did. I bet you did have it.
Yeah.
And you probably have the antibodies. And here you are sitting on the blood that has the antibodies in it, and people are dying, Paul. Get your ass to the hospital and give them the antibodies.
Well, then I heard that the antibodies don't even last that long. It might last for a few months, and then they go away. But then that begs the question, what's the purpose of this vaccine? If it's like the Golden Gate Bridge, you start painting it. By the time you finish painting it, you got to start repainting it already. So it makes no sense. You can still
get it even if you had the vaccine. I mean, you get the flu shot. It's only 74% or 73% effective. You can still get the flu if you had the flu shot.
Because I had COVID in June, and I had my antibody comedy tour I was on, and I recently tested and I lost my antibodies. But what they say is, even though you don't have the antibodies, your T cells, which are basically the things that produce antibodies, your body has a muscle memory. Well, you have cellular memory. So the minute the body recognizes it, it's almost in that recognition mode, or the word that it develops the antibodies because it knows how to. So even though
can you do a test for us, Dougie? Can you go out and lick some escalator handrails and see what happens?
I'll do that for you.
Yeah, because I like my COVID like I like my women, 19 and easy to spread. You know what I'm saying? Come on, lady, work with me. That's not right. Cancel Jimmy Shubert. Cancel him immediately. He hurt my feelings.
Well, maybe I'll do this. This is a great story. Paraguayan soccer player apologizes for exposing his penis after scoring. Great. If you never got to see this video, the guy gets, everybody pulls their shirt off. They score a goal, and
he pulled down his pants.
He pulled down his pants, and you could kind of, it broke that plane.
And everybody got an eyeful of his flesh musket. Is that what happened?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
People are upset.
Where the announcer is like a pull.
Yeah, goal followed by a pull.
I see crotch.
I was excited. He scored.
And you would think the Spanish.
Usually I pull mine out to see if I score.
Yeah.
That's Brett Favre's go-to maneuver, I think, right?
Yeah, I swiped it from him.
All right, enough of the soccer player's penis. Mysterious New York City squirrel attacks in Queens. And Queens are having attacks by squirrels. So things aren't that bad in California, Paul. At least you're not in New York getting attacked.
Yeah, because the squirrels aren't getting fed. Usually people are out milling about feeding the squirrels.
Right.
But now they're not getting fed. So now they're getting angry and they get used to being fed. And now you've got these crazy psychopathic squirrels and dude, I can tell you, I also heard a lot of A companies are just packing up their shops and moving out of New York City, like brands like Dunkin' Donuts and a lot of these other companies are moving out. So even if a city like New York is able to survive, there's not going to be any stores there. I mean, they're going to really wait until it's all gone, it's all done.
It's going to be rare.
And how are these attacks mysterious anyway? People are getting attacked by squirrels where squirrels actually live. That's not mysterious. It's mysterious is if you go to your kitchen into the junk drawer looking for an iPhone charger and you open the drawer and then squirrel. That's fucking mysterious, dude.
Yeah. It's like a woman was attacked by it. I saw headlines: a woman was attacked by a shark, and the shark is still on the loose. I go, what the guy? Was the shark supposed to turn himself in? Yeah, it was me. Well, put you in a lineup. It's 4 guys and a shark. I think it was number 2. Turned to the side. The door open. Yeah, it was him.
It's the one with the nickname Jabberjaw. The Singh family from Rego Park told the news that their neighborhood has experienced around 20 unprovoked squirrel attacks. Because it's not like a guy going out there to the squirrel going, "Hey, come on, fucker, bring it on, squirrel."
Bro, you want to get attacked by a squirrel, Dougie? Show them your nuts.
Yeah, I'll have to try that along with. Hold on, I got to go lick the escalator banister, and then I'm going to go show a squirrel my nuts in Queens. So that's what it is. They're not being fed. Well, let's start feeding the squirrels in New York. And I don't know if New York's going to work. I like you said, I'm really worried for California. I think it's done. I think it's done. I think it's got too many other problems going with the fires and all the other shit, all the horrible things, the drought.
Well, that's it. You talk about mismanagement. Like, for instance, in other words, those forest fires wouldn't be nearly as bad if you raked the forest, if you got rid of some of that underbrush and some of that stuff, because of all the environmentalists, they don't cut down the trees. But actually, to tell you the truth, the reason you have those forest fires that are that severe is because you're not tending to the forest.
Now I can tell Paul's laughing because he's conjuring up when Trump said that about raking it. But there are these huge rakes that they use and to clear.
No, it's an actual term, and other people do it. I mean, other people have big forests too. They don't have forest fires every 6 or 7 months that wipes out $1 million fucking homes because because they're not under the environmental restrictions that a place like California is. Look, I mean, I can't see Paul, so I don't know what he's doing. But the fact of the matter is that's why they have a fire line, so they don't jump across. I mean, that's part of the deal. I mean, you got to take care of, the underbrush. I mean, there's so many. I mean, Jesus, in the middle of a drought, you could spark a forest fire with a heated conversation.
You're not anywhere in that neighborhood, are you, Paul? You're not near forest fires.
No, we get some close to us. A couple of years ago, I had one of the big tanker planes fly right over my house. So it's fires everywhere, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's whatever. I mean, I don't know, but I mean that's why I got it's the fires, it's the homelessness, it's the the taxes, the regulations. I mean, shit, I was done, bro. I moved to Florida, no state tax. Ching.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing here. And if you want, Paul, I'm selling my house. So if you want to leave California, you can come by my place.
Yeah. Okay. Send details. Send location.
I'll send you location. Our last story of the day: a Tennessee mother was arrested after she left her 1-year-old alone in a parked car while she was at a bar on New Year's Eve celebrating. Is this why people are so messed up? Is because the parenting over the last several decades has been so neglectful that basically we've given birth to a bunch of fucking morons and people that's why somebody's on Facebook looking for likes because their mother left them in a car when they were 1 year old during a New Year's Eve party.
How do you forget you have a fucking child in the back of your car?
Where was this?
Let's see.
I mean, you see these stories in the news all the time.
In Tennessee.
This has not been a good year for Tennessee and parked vehicles. But listen, this is what happens when you don't let women get abortions. You can't have everything. You got to pick, right? Do you want abortion bans or do you want baby sickles? You got to choose. You can't. Do you want frozen babies or abortion bans? You can't have it both ways.
Listen, I saw a girl recently. Must be coming back from one of these marches. She had blue hair. She was wearing a T-shirt that said, "I had 18 abortions and I'm proud of it." I mean, I thought she was kind of cute till I saw the fucking shirt, and I'm going, nobody wants to fuck that haunted house of a pussy of yours. I mean, Jesus, I get you. Maybe you had 2, 3, 4, fucking 18. Jesus Christ. I have a dick. I know that stuff comes out of it that can knock you the fuck up. Maybe you could figure out how to work your vagina and save us all a lot of fucking heartbreak. I mean, I look, I get it. I mean, they have to be legal. As my friend Steve Simone says, because women make fucking terrible decisions. So abortions have to be legal. I get it. Absolutely.
Hold on, wait. It's Hollywood. What? Cancel Shubert? Okay, hold on.
Hey, it's a fucking comedy podcast. I was trying to be funny.
He'll never be on King of Queens again. Well,
I canceled myself, Paul. I left Hollywood. I'm canceled. I canceled myself.
And he didn't even give a shit. That happens a lot here in Florida, where they leave their kids in the car. They forget. I went. What else was I supposed to do? I went to the store. I picked up some groceries. I went by and got some stamps. What else did I forget? Oh, I left Johnny in the back seat of the car, and it's 110 degrees.
Well, look, the kid was 1 year old, right? Your children don't start to form memories until they're 3. If your kid is 2 or younger, leave them in the car with an iPad and the heater on. That's all.
Right? I mean, you could think, like, I'm trying to remember the first time. I had 3 older brothers, but I remember, when they were like 14, 13, they leave. But if you have a 1 year old at home and you want to go party on New Year's Eve, what choices do you have? Either you miss the party. 2020 sucks, so I got to go to the New Year's Eve party. I'm in fucking Tennessee. What else is happening?
It was probably the only
you need a
party.
license to own a gun. You need a license to drive a car. I mean, anybody can have a fucking baby. I mean, you have a fucking shitty kid. You fuck up the planet for 7 years. I mean, I think there should be some kind of, test involved to see if you should procreate.
I do.
That way, so. Because I'm sorry, you're too stupid to fucking procreate. So we're gonna take your uterus out.
And I always said that freedom of speech should come with an IQ test.
Well, it's just like I mean, come on, smart people aren't having fucking kids.
Yeah.
Only fucking dumb people.
You have children, Paul?
Break the cycle of stupidity. Break the cycle.
You have children, Paul?
No kids. I'm with Jimmy on this. There needs to be vetting. There needs to be some sort of triage going on in order for you to be able to make more of you. And I would fail that test, so I've excluded myself from this.
Well,
game.
yeah. Well, like I say, you got to be such a fucking dynamic, amazing individual. Go, this guy. You should be more of you. Yes, and then pair them up with other overachievers, and just have I mean, to me, it's amazing. Like, my dad was a homicide detective, and he was a detective wound up working major crimes. And he's always used to say to me, he goes, Jimmy, it's that first 5 years of a person's life. And I said, what do you mean by that, Dad? He goes, well, if a person is born into a loving, caring, nurturing family, they usually turn out to be reasonably well-adjusted people. But if they're not, if they're born into neglect and alcoholism and abuse, and they turn out to be fucking sociopaths, and they'd walk up and fucking shoot you in the face just as soon as they say hi to you, because they don't know what fucking love is, because no one's ever showed them fucking love. And so they don't know how to love other people. And therein lies the fucking problem with humanity. I mean, women bitch about men. I go, well, who the fuck raises men? Women do. In fact, little boys are surrounded by fucking 72% of the teachers are female. Teach your kid how to be a fucking good man. I mean, whose job is that if not fucking yours? I'm just saying, there's a lot of trauma. Everybody has fucking trauma. We're all trying to heal ourselves and get better at being fucking human beings. I mean, and I just think if you have kids and you ignore them and you fucking treat them like shit, I always say where there's a douchebag kid, there's a douchebag parent right fucking behind them.
Yeah, I think that's good. I learned that when I used to watch The Dog Whisperer. There's not a bad dog, just a bad dog owner, right? If little Billy's shitting on the carpet, it's probably because the dad's shitting on the carpet.
Yeah, totally. I liken it to this. Have you ever gone to Kentucky Fried Chicken and look at the ingredients on the hot sauce packet? The number one ingredient in hot sauce at KFC? Hot sauce. So hot sauce comes from hot sauce. Broken people come from broken people, man. That's what it is.
And we
got I talked to a clinical psychiatrist. We were just having a conversation at a party, and I said, boy, you must be busy nowadays. She goes, I work with, and she said, I probably shouldn't say this because I'm a woman, but when women walked away from the family unit in 1972 and burned their bras and did all this stuff, and she said that really was the beginning of it. And she goes, a lot of women get divorced and they have their child, and they take their child and they have this little boy, and they turn him into the little boyfriend, and they completely emasculate him. He grows up, he has no fucking men's skills, he doesn't know how to act like a fucking man. And she goes, I would rather work with a gangbanger who's been shot 7 times, coming off a 10-year stint out of prison. She goes, that guy you can rehabilitate. She goes, this guy's 50. He can't keep a job. He can't fucking keep an apartment. He's fucking been completely fucking emasculated by his own mother. And he's fucking useless as a fucking human being. I mean, this is what she said to me. And she's a clinical psychiatrist. And I was sitting in the back going, wow, I should videotape this and get you cancer.
I think the government itself, the society is about emasculating us, the men. Like they said, amen, a woman. Bow your heads. The name of the man in charge, the sibling, the Tio. Anyway, guys, this has been a lot of fun.
It really has. It's been great to see you, Paul.
Good to see you too, man.
I don't get to see you enough, man. But everybody, I travel over there. Everybody speaks so highly of you and how funny you are. And I know we get to hang out a little bit at Flappers at Burbank before the pandemic, but it's always great to see my fellow comedians. I know we ain't getting to do a lot of much of anything anymore, but so I just wish you good luck out there in California, and further good luck with your career. And hopefully this will all come to an end soon. We'll get back to what we love to do, which is make people laugh, really. So, But great seeing you.
Good to see you, man. Let's make that happen.
Yeah, Paul, if you want to come down and do some shows in Florida, we could definitely put some stuff together for you down here if you want to just get away.
Well, let me check my calendar, and I'm wide open. Okay.
Hey, bro, we'll keep you busy down here.
Yeah. We'll definitely start working on that for you because that's some funny stuff. Well, with that, guys, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having us, Dougie. Be safe, man.
Happy New Year, you guys. And
you too.
And that's it. As these guys go, this is the Wake Up Late with Dougie show, where you can find us on Twitter at Wake Up Dougie and on Instagram at the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. Follow me at the Funny Fiduciary on Twitter, and of course on Instagram at Dougie Dangerous. In the studios, my producer, Mr. Chris, are you there?
Howdy.
All right. Well, I think it's time to go. These gentlemen got things to do, and I got things to do. And next week we got an all new show with Bob Golub will be joining us. Bob Golub will be joining us. Who was on the opening scene of Goodfellas? You got to see that scene where he walks into the diner. You know what I'm talking about, Paul?
I know exactly what scene.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, and of course, we'll have another guest to be announced. But thanks for watching, guys. God bless. Take care, and we'll see you next week right here at the same spot.
Wake up. Wake up.